Halloween! Feliz brujas.
Hey guys, hello and welcome back to the channel. Olá e bem-vindo. I think that's how you say it. Welcome, 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 and happy Halloween. Feliz Dia das Bruxas. Well, technically it's not Halloween yet. At the time of uploading, this is supposed to be Halloween Eve, the day before Halloween. And I would like to introduce the game that I will be playing for my Halloween video. And that will be uploaded tomorrow on Halloween. And I had a lot of fun with this one. Took quite a lot of preparation, if I have to be honest. And I have had this game for a little while. The game is Vampire, Alone in the Darkness. Now this is by 101 Games. It is a company from Brazil. The designers are Jefferson Pimentel and Bruno Sathler. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong. I am trying to learn a little bit of Portuguese because the Brazilian community who speak Portuguese is it's a wonderful group of guys that I found on Facebook, and they are producing some amazing games. You've already seen some on my channel by another designer. There are some others in the series. This is Vampire. There is also a werewolf. There is also a magic sort of witch warlock RPG, and there is also a Cthulhu one, which Jefferson has kind of promised that the English versions will be translated early 2023. Fingers crossed. So yes, it is a role-playing game that is, I would say it's designed primarily for solo players. You play it without a Gamesmaster, Dungeon Master, or referee. But it does include the option of having group play without a Games Master and also games with a referee or Games Master. Now, I am no stranger to RPGs. In fact, it's kind of how I got started in the whole gaming hobby. I mean, these are the games that I started with. These and also first edition Warhammer, which I think I left in the UK. But these are, I think, two of my oldest RPG games, and I had so much fun with these back in the day. More recently, I have to admit, I haven't been doing a lot of role-playing since I came to Malaysia. I don't know, real life and things kind of got in the way, and I just didn't get to play much RPG. I did Savage Worlds for a while. I did demo Savage Worlds for a while, but I'm trying to get back into it now because I don't know, I think the time is right. And by looking around, you can actually find a lot of these games that you don't need to have a group of people. This is one of the problems I found with RPGs before, was getting the group to come together for games on a regular basis because of real life and family. It was quite common for one person to not be able to come or be busy or have work or family commitments. But with games like this, with Vampire, even with games like Ronin that I did in another video, and I've got some others actually lined up, these give you the opportunity to indulge your role-playing desires by yourself. Now, don't get me wrong, role-playing, in my humble opinion, is much better as a group. That whole social dynamic makes role-playing, it is a wonderful game, a wonderful way to play, a wonderful social activity. But sometimes situations are that, we are alone. We have to play games by ourselves. And this, I would like to recommend that you guys take a look at. It's a fairly small book. You get the PDF, you get the character sheet. There is an English version now, 78 pages. But you can find this on Drive-Thru RPG, and it's only $4.99. It's only about $5. So let's have a look and see what we have. Well, it's quite a simple RPG. There's not a lot of attributes, skills, powers, and spells that you need to remember. And everything is in one book. This is one of the things that kind of put me off role-playing for a while, was trying to keep up with all the supplements and the new editions. I mean, when I was playing Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, back in the days of Thaco, I was trying my hardest to kind of keep up with all the character handbooks, the Ranger's Handbook, the Fighter's Handbook, the Gladiator's Handbook, and there were different worlds. There was Planescape, there was Dark Sun, there was Forgotten Realms, Greyhawk. There was just so much, and I just couldn't keep up with it all. And I think that was one of the reasons why I kind of moved away, because I kind of felt that I wasn't up to date. Games like this, amazing. This is a simple game. In this game, you are playing this vampire, and it has a very clever way of creating the vampires. You are not bitten in the neck. What happens in this game is that you die. For whatever reason, you die, and a shadow demon possesses your body, and there are different types of shadow demon which relate to the different vampire castes. And these different castes will give you different abilities, different weaknesses, different bonuses, and it gives me that Vampire the Masquerade feel, but without the bloatedness, without the size. This is a very streamlined, easy to play version of Vampire the Masquerade. If you've ever felt that, don't get me wrong, Vampire the Masquerade was amazing, but it was a big game, and like I say, I kind of couldn't keep up with it. This is an option for you guys. So, this is the character sheet. You've got your stats, skills, dark gifts, which are like your vampire powers, money, and belongings. So let's take a look and see what we've got. There's a few pages at the start that basically give you some intro in terms of how you become a vampire, a little bit of fiction, some stories to kind of get you in the mood. Okay, so what do you need to play? Well, you need the book, you need pencil and paper. You need a piece of paper to kind of make some notes in terms of what you're going to be doing. The character sheet, and 2 10-sided dice. I think having 2 different colors is preferable because you'll be rolling on a bunch of tables. Now, like I say, this game I think was designed with solo players in mind, but you can play with groups of players, and you can play with what they call a mediator or a Gamesmaster or referee. And the way that the game is that you will be rolling on a bunch of tables like an oracle system to create events, to create NPCs, to find out things that happen. And it does have a very simple mechanic to accommodate more players. If you're playing in a group or you're playing with a mediator, you'll have this little smiley face symbol on some of the tables when you have events and actions. And sometimes that little symbol will basically tell you, well, that represents the number of players. So you may have, for example, I think I showed you one here, a group of 5+, again, that symbol, undead appear to be following your trail and getting close to you. So what that means is if you're playing with a group of 3 people, you are getting 5 + 3 undead following you. If you're playing by yourself, there will be 5 + 1, so 6. What else? Well, like I say, there are different castes, very similar to Vampire the Masquerade. Each of them are very distinct, very unique in terms of how they play, in terms of how they're designed, in terms of their role-playing elements, very different to the other castes, which is great. There are also some sections that describe about the cities and also legions, where you have groups of vampires or organizations of vampires in the cities to basically control the vampire population, to make sure that You don't get spotted, you don't get seen, you don't get found out. So the whole vampire thing is still kind of secret. There are people that know, you've got vampire hunters and all this sort of jazz, but in the main, people are unaware of your existence, and that's how you want to try and keep it, because otherwise you're dead. So it talks about the legions, the tribunes, who are the heads of the legions, and how you interact with those. It talks about servants, how you can find, create, and use humans or mortal servants within the game as well. Now, I will say here, and I will put a little warning sign on the title page. This game is 18 plus. I think on the back of the rules, it does actually say it should be 18 plus, not plus 18, but 18 plus, because there are certain elements within this game that are adult in nature. Some of the vampire weaknesses, some of the vampire's favorite prey. Yeah, it's a little bit risky. I mean, when I do my game for YouTube, I'm gonna have there are certain casts, certain types of vampires that I don't think I should use. Also, some of the vampire powers may be not suitable for YouTube, but it is designed for an adult audience. So if you're fine with that, it's great. So creating the character is very, very simple. You have, like I mentioned, 3 basic attributes. Bonk, bonk. Body, spirit, and mind. So you have 3 stat numbers, 4, 3, and 2. So you allocate those 3 numbers to your stats. So one of your 3 basic stats, body, spirit, or mind, you will allocate a 4. Another one you'll allocate a 3, and another one you'll allocate a 2. Higher the number, better you are. Then, for each of these, you will add 5, and that becomes the related second attribute. So, body plus 5 is your health. And that relates to how much damage you can take. Your spirit, which relates to your appearance, your charisma, your ability to manipulate people and influence people. That plus 5 is your posture, which is how people see you. Initial impressions, your overall demeanor. And then your mind, your intelligence, your reasoning, your ability to solve problems. You plus 5, and that comes and relates to your will, your motivation, your strength of mind. So three numbers, 4, 3, and 2, you allocate to your 3 basic stats. You add 5 to each to relate to the secondary stats. Done. You then choose 2 skills. Now the skills are here. There's a number to choose from, not an excessive amount, but the skills have been designed to cover a wide variety of things. So for example, arts is a skill, but it covers a wide range of arts: painting, singing, dance, music. Yeah. So each of these, there's not a huge amount, but like I say, they do cover a number of things within each skill. Now, having a skill will give you a +2 to your rolls, your dice tests when you use those skills. In terms of your posture, this is also quite important for when you interact with NPCs. You will have to compare your posture value with your opponents or your opposites, and the person that you're trying to influence or you're trying to talk to or interact with. You compare your posture with theirs to determine who is dominant, who is being dominated, or whether if it's the same, who's neutral. And this can affect your dice rolls and the effect of the results of those, which I think is quite a clever little thing. And there are vampire abilities that allow you to raise or lower things like posture or body or health. So it's all very variable and very situational. Now, those are kind of your human elements. You then go to what we call turning into a vampire. So this represents when your character dies and is then taken over by this demon, this shadow demon spirit that takes over your body, revives you, reincarnates you. Not reincarnates, that's the wrong word. Resurrect, that's the word. That's the word I'm thinking of. It's early here. It resurrects you, but with new powers, with new strengths and new weaknesses. So when you've done your abilities and your skills, the next thing you have to look at is choosing a caste. Which variety of vampire are you? Which type of shadow demon is currently inhabiting your body? Now, on page 22, they list 5 different castes. The thing is, there are only 6. So I don't know why they didn't just put 6 here. Because it says here below, there's a description of 5 of the main vampiric castes. There are several others spread in lesser quantities. Well, there's only one other listed here. So I don't know why they just couldn't put all 6 here, to be honest. Now, I'm not going to go through all the different vampires. This is something that you guys can actually, not surprise yourself, but something that you can discover for yourself when you get the book. Get the book! Again, it's bloody early in the morning here. When you buy the book and when you get the game, you will discover these different vampire castes. All of them they have their own niche in terms of how you're going to play the game, how you're going to play the character, how you're going to interact with others. And each of the castes have their own weakness, main emotions, favorite prey, bonuses to attributes. So for example, this one, the ads or adzi, they get +1 to body and +1 to spirit. So their body will increase by 1 and their spirit will increase by 1, which also means health +1 and posture +1. And it also tells you in terms of your starting dark gifts. Now, these are your vampire powers. Now, depending on your caste, depending on the type of shadow demon that resurrects you and possesses you, you will have access to different groups of abilities at the start of the game. Now, there are a number of these different gift groups, and within each group there are 3 different gifts. So for example here with the ads or adzi, they have access to darkness of the soul, cloud the mind, and plague of insects. So each of these groups have 3 individual gifts within them. So when you start as a vampire, you will have access to 9 different gifts, of which you start with 3. So you've got to choose 3 powers from those groups. Good variety. Like I say, there's a chance for you to create your character how you want. It's not that all the ads are the same. As you gain experience, as you evolve your character, you will have access to get more vampiric powers, but not just from your initial groups, but also from all the other groups. Which is again really good in terms of variety and character depth and character growth. So there are 6 types of vampire caste. Like I say, I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm going to choose one of them for the gameplay. But again, I've got to be a bit selective because some of them not really suitable for YouTube videos, not suitable for kids, or maybe for people who don't like certain subjects and certain topics. I'm not going to say what they are because, like I say, it's not suitable for YouTube really. But I'm going to choose one of these castes for the game tomorrow. Right, so talking about these dark gifts, these vampiric powers, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are 10 groups of vampire powers or dark gifts, and in each group there are 3 different powers. So again, for example, we have one group called Cloud the Mind. So this represents the ability of vampires to manipulate people's thoughts. So you have Erase Memories. This is one of the powers that you can choose or have. Erase Memories, so basically you would make a mind and manipulation roll. So what this means is it tells you the attribute that you need to use first, and then in brackets it tells you the skill that is most relevant. Okay, and this would be what you would make the skill roll. I'll talk about that in a second. If you succeed, you can enter the target's mind and erase any event that's happened in the last 24 hours. You have Dominate the Mind. So basically this allows you to make your target do something, do an action for you. Mind reading allows you to enter their mind, read their thoughts, and kind of get information from them. There are some very different dark gifts in here. For example, we have, where is it? Monstrous shape. So this is where you can manipulate your body in different ways. Sharp claws is one of the powers, where your hands become sharp, keen claws that can cut people to shreds. It gives you bonus damage on melee attacks. You have Assume the Beast. So what happens with this one is that you can actually take the form of small or medium animals. You have the third one, the third power, which is Monstrosity. So this allows you to become some kind of hybrid, some human-demon hybrid, where you get a bonus to your body stat and you become a lot more dangerous. But of course, you're going to scare most people off. So you'll be choosing three powers from your 3 initial groups. Now, like I say, as you evolve, as you grow and get experience, you can actually learn new powers from your casts group. That costs 10 points. Or you can learn powers from another group, which costs 15 experience points. So for example, if Cloud the Mind is one of those starting groups for your cast, it would cost you 10 experience points to learn a new power. But if it's not part of your cast's initial 3 groups, it will cost you more points, but you can still do it. So it does give you the ability to really come up with a very unique vampire. Yeah, so that all the vampires in that cast are not mirror images of each other. I like that. It's simple but effective, and it gives you that variety, that flesh to your character, which we all love in role-playing games. Okay, the second little thing I have with the book, when you come to page 42, so if we go back to the contents, page 42 is where the rules start, but there's no title, there's no header. So it goes straight from your dark gifts and it goes straight here. And when I first read this book, I came along and went, huh, what's going on? I think there's a heading or a title missing here. This should say rules. But this is basically how you play and it's very, very simple. Pretty much everything is going to be, in terms of your character making rolls, in terms of actions, you're basically just going to be rolling a d10. Yeah, a d10 plus your attribute plus your skill. Yeah, your attribute. Yeah, plus your skill. So things like manipulation, melee combat, subterfuge, knowledge. Yeah, plus d10. And all you have to do is get a 10 or higher. If you roll a 10 or higher, you succeed. If you get a less than 10, then you fail. All right. Now, I haven't noticed anywhere that says that on a natural 1, you automatically fail. I don't know, because the thing is, once you develop yourself, once you evolve and you start getting experience, you can increase attributes, you can learn new skills. So I'm kind of thinking that after a while, I don't know, maybe it gets to a point where it's impossible for you to fail. Maybe you have an attribute of 9 or 10, in which case, no matter what you roll, you're going to succeed. So I don't know. I'm kind of thinking that a natural 1 should always be a failure. But like I say, I haven't seen anywhere I might have missed it. Yeah, I'm getting old. My eyesight's going. I might have missed it, but I'm kind of thinking that a natural 1 on your D10 should be a failure. Because like I say, otherwise after a while, your character may get to a point where you just cannot fail. And that's kind of unrealistic, and it kind of takes away a lot of the fun and the challenge of an RPG. That element of doubt, that element of, oh, what if I fail? And trust me, if you watch my other videos, you know that I roll a lot of 1s. But I'm hoping in this game with D10s, I don't have the same luck. So yeah, most of your rolls, most of your tests is going to be a D10 plus the attribute plus the skill. So like we saw just now, doesn't matter, but for example, like manipulate bodies, the vampire rolls mind, knowledge, and in case of a success, manages to make permanent aesthetic changes. So we go to our character sheet, we find our mind value, we see if we have the knowledge skill. If we don't have the knowledge skill, then that becomes a 0. If we do have the knowledge skill, it gives me a +2 to the roll. Simple, 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 but it works well. It flows really nicely. But like I say, I think, and again, I don't recall seeing, and I've read the book a bunch of times. I've played a few test games. I don't see anything about an automatic failure, and like I say, I may introduce that as a house rule. And maybe Jefferson can confirm in the comments below. So that's the basic skill test, or the basic ability test. D10 plus skill plus attribute, and you've got to get a 10 or higher. Now, there will be cases where you roll above 10. Sometimes that doesn't matter. It basically just says, yeah, well done, you succeed. But there will be times when you want to know how much you've succeeded or how well you've succeeded. Yeah? And that's where this thing called power bonus comes in. So let's say, for example, I'm rolling a test. I roll the dice. I get a 6. When I add my attribute and my skill, maybe that's a total of 6, I get a result of 12. Yeah? Let's get another dice. So I get a total of 12. Well, it's a success because it's higher or equal to 10. Yeah, that's another thing. Actually, that symbol's wrong. It should be greater than or equal to 10. So that should be an equal or greater than symbol. Never mind. But yeah, let's say I rolled a 12. Now, like I say, in some cases you just have to get a 10 or higher. You succeed or you fail. Easy, done. Yeah. But like I say, there may be times when where you want to know how well you've succeeded or by how much. And that's what they use to call this power bonus. Now, what that does is you take every additional point over 10, and those relate to your power bonus or your power points. For things like combat, for things like when you're hitting somebody, that could relate to extra damage. Yeah. So for example, when you're attacking somebody, if I rolled to attack somebody and I rolled this, the damage that I will be doing would be my body attribute plus my power bonus. Now, weapons will give you another bonus as well, but these power points can be used to give you extra damage. They can be used to give you, like we saw one just now about the mind reading. Well, maybe this allows you to get more information or more pieces of information. If you are controlling an animal or you're controlling a human, maybe this relates to the duration, so you can control them for another 2 days. So these power bonus, these extra points that you get for rolling or getting results which are higher and higher, this excess, this value above the 10, gives you that ability to see how well or how badly you've done. Again, I really like it. But we haven't finished. We also have advantages and disadvantages. There will be times when it's obvious that you have an advantage in a situation. Maybe, for example, that you are you're trying to shoot somebody at a long distance, but you have a sniper scope. Well, that would represent having an advantage. Yeah. Maybe the guy is in a trench, he's in really good cover. Well, that may give you a disadvantage. Now, advantages and disadvantages means you roll an extra dice. With an advantage, you roll 2 dice and you take the highest. With a disadvantage, you roll the 2 dice and you take the lowest. If you have an advantage and a disadvantage, they basically equal each other out, and you just roll the one dice as normal. Very clever, very simple. Now, a lot of role-playing games, they are heavy. I mean, D&D, RuneQuest, sometimes you look at these games and there's just so much in these games. But here, pretty much everything you need to know is on these 2 pages in terms of the majority of the gameplay. Combat, it tells you how to do combat. Combat is basically, a skill roll, and then you check your opponent to see what they do as a reaction. It says here, in terms of reaction, what is their reaction? What do they do? Sometimes they fight back. Sometimes they run away. Yeah, and it's a very, very simple system, and I really like it. Weapons, armor, other kinds of damage. Again, it's very clear in terms of how it affects your damage roll, how it affects your ability to deal or receive damage. Hunger. Yeah, you're a vampire, you've got to feed. Every caste has their favorite prey, which will sustain you for longer. If you do not feed on your favored prey according to your caste, then there will be consequences as your demon basically gets fed up, sort of just eating plain food all the time. They want the they want the fine dining. But it also tells you in terms of, how that feeding works and what happens if you upset the demon and you don't feed on your favorite prey for long enough. What happens with damage? What else is there? Well, I mean, like I said, that's pretty much the game mechanics. I mean, rolling skills, advantages and disadvantages. How does equipment help you? How do you heal? I mean, how many pages is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 pages. And it's so simple. But it flows really well. But it doesn't spoon feed you. It doesn't guide you through, holding your hand all the way. There is going to be a lot of time where you have to make a decision yourself. You're going to have to make a judgment in terms of what happens, in terms of what justifies an advantage or a disadvantage. They give you some examples here, but really it comes down to you a lot of the time to make those decisions, to make those judgments. And I mean, that's why it's only on 5 pages. But again, it flows so well. And if you're playing solo, it doesn't matter if you make a mistake. Yeah, well, it does if you're recording like me. Okay, so what about the world? What about the campaign? What about the scenarios, the games? Well, once you've created your character, you have to think in terms of your scenario, the location of your adventures. And for this, basically in this game, you create a map, a hex map of the town, the city, the metropolis that you are going to be living and exploring and adventuring in, and hopefully surviving in. And to do that, they've actually released these hex tiles to represent new city, old city, industrial district, fields, and harbour. Now there is a file that you can download which has these hexes which you can print out. Off the top of my head, I can't actually. There is an English PDF where the labels are in English. On the 101 Games website, they have the Portuguese, which you can download for free with these tiles. Which I mean doesn't really matter because, like I say, the only thing that's on the PDF that's different is the labels. The pictures are all the same. So what you'll do is you'll use these hexes to create your town or your city to represent the industrial area, the old town, the fields or parks, the new town, the harbour or the shipping area. And this would represent your area of play. You identify one place as being your initial haven or your sort of home hex where you have your shelter, where you have your coffin or whatever. They include a couple of examples. St. Augustine is quite a small map here. New York. That's a little bit bigger. Also the water. They also include, it's not shown here, but they also include a water tile. And you'll notice that it's red to represent night. Yeah? So you'll create the map, and this is where you're going to journey, adventure, meet people, have events, do combat, fight crime or be crime. And yeah, like I say, there's so much to this game. So in terms of the actual sequence of play, once you've created the character, you've created your area of play, your sort of map, then you'll be bringing your vampire out into the world, living their life and doing things. And I would recommend, and I think most people when they play this, they do a kind of journal, like with like a timeline in terms of what they're doing. So this is from a previous game. Night 1, which is on a Sunday, I walked to another hex, bought some stuff, I had an event, find my favorite prey, and basically that's all I did for the night. The next night, I traveled to a different hex, I found a servant, I had an event, I tried to get some money, I traveled home. You know, I mean, it's a good idea to have this as a reference so you can remember what happens and where. I mean, in this example that I did a little while back, I witnessed 4 thugs about to rob an important character who happened to be a media celebrity addicted to drugs. So I saved her, and in doing so, with a few little bits of role-playing, a little bit of dice rolling, I actually managed to get her to become a potential ally in the future, having some kind of famous celebrity. I mean, I thought that she might be like a pop singer. So this could be a very useful NPC in future games. So what I did is on my map, I basically put a little marker to represent her on the map. So I put a little marker down to actually to indicate where she lives or where she is. So what you'll be doing is you're basically going to be living the life of this vampire. The exciting stuff, the gameplay, the events, this is all going to be happening randomly. So every night, you're going to basically have 12 hours to do what you want to begin with. But like I say, later on, events will occur, things will occur, you'll meet people that can actually generate stories and adventures and things like that. But every night you're going to have 12 hours, and it follows a simple 3-point sequence. First of all, you choose an action to perform. Again, there's a bunch of different things you can do. They give some examples here, the main things. So you can hunt for prey, hunt for favorite prey, search for a temporary shelter. Now this is something that you may end up doing if you run out of time to get back to your lair before the sun comes up. Buy things, search for a new home, a new haven or a new home, find other vampires, find servants, get money, interact with characters. There's a lot of actions that you can do to kind of start your adventure and to continue with your adventure and to build up on this game. And all of these different actions have different times in terms of how long it takes. A lot of them will require some kind of test, a roll. Again, remember, D10 plus your attribute plus the skill. So hunt for prey. Test mind and survival. So you add your mind stat. You get a +2 if you have survival, and you roll the D10. 10 plus, you succeed. All of these things are things you can do. Now, once you've done your first action, once you've done the first thing, now, traveling doesn't count. You can travel around the map, doesn't matter. Get to where you want to be, do your first action. Second, you roll for an event. Now, again, I couldn't find anything that tells me that it's just one event per night. I'm assuming that it is. But you're going to roll a random event depending on where you are on the map, whether you're in the new city, the old city, the industrial district, whatever, because each of those areas has their own event table. And you're going to be rolling 2d10. Which basically breaks it down into 20 different events. There's 20 different events for each area. And you'll roll up a random event. This may basically give you something simple. It may give you something more complex. But a lot of the time, it's going to generate a lead. It's going to generate some kind of scenario starter, adventure starter. What's the word? An NPC or acquaintance generator. And like I said, you create you get one event every night, I think. I don't think you get more than one. And after you've gone through the event, you can then do other actions as you want, paying the time required for each one. But again, remember, you've only got 12 hours to get back to your settlement or your shelter before the sun comes up. Otherwise, you dead, mate. So that's actions, events, and like I say, there's a lot of stuff here, all the events. You've got neutral encounter. Again, sometimes it will say, okay, you get a neutral encounter, check this other table. So you may have to check other tables here, violent encounters, character interaction. These are basically your basic oracles to determine what happens. These will give you a yes, no, maybe kind of results. There are also important events and more detailed events where you have to come over to this page and here to get more details about what's going on. Oh, it's such a good game. It flows really, really well. I think I've been rambling on a bit. I don't think this is the best overview that I've ever done for a game, but that's because I'm excited about it. There's so much in this small book. Like I say, it's only, what did I say, how many pages? 78 pages. There's so much in this game that it really is Vampire the Masquerade light. It's not the same as Vampire the Masquerade, but it is definitely a much more, what's the word, usable game, especially when you're solo. Now, I just want to take a few minutes and show you some things that I have done to kind of enhance this game for the gameplay session that I'll upload tomorrow. So just give me a second and I'll show you some of the things that I'll be using and that I've created to help me with this game. Right, so some of the things that I have been prepping for this particular game. First of all, I did come up with a few quick reference sheets, but I have to be honest, I haven't really used them, so I don't know how useful these will be. I've basically tried to put maybe some of the more commonly used bits and pieces onto these sheets, but the trouble is that, I don't know, I was trying to do it on 2 pages, but I just couldn't do it. So I'm not, like I say, I'm not too sure whether these are actually worth doing because I've barely used them. But what I have used are some cards. Now, what I have done is I've taken some of the things that I tended to forget when I was playing, but which wasn't on the character sheet. Where is he? I mean, this is the guy that this is the character that I was playing when I was testing out and, learning the game and everything else. Gregory Sharp, a young Lilitu vampire. So one of the things that I did find that I needed kind of reminders, and again, this may be just me, being old and whatever, and losing my memory, losing my marbles as well, was, for example, the cast, the vampire weaknesses and their favorite prey. Now again, once you've been playing this game for a while, you probably won't need these. But like I say, to begin with, especially with me, I tend to forget a bunch of things. So these cards actually helped me to remember what is my vampire's weakness according to the cast and what is the favorite prey for this cast, just to help me so I don't forget. So I did one of these for each of the casts. I don't know whether you can see these properly. Let's there you go. So I just did one of these. It's nothing complex, and I actually made it a little bit too big to fit in a card sleeve. But yeah, I basically just did one of these for each of the casts, just their weakness and favorite prey, because I did find that this was one of the things that I kept forgetting. Also, for the dark gifts. Now here you'll write down the gifts that you have, but again, with like me, with my memory my memory problems, I keep forgetting in terms of the skill test I have to do, the limit in terms of how long it lasts, what damage it does. So again, what I did was, for each of the dark gifts, again, I created a card for each one to basically just give me the information. So what I would do is, like for here, magnetic attraction, I would, where is it? Where are you, you bastard? There it is. So what I would do is, with this, with this character sheet, I would actually just put these cards next to it. What else did I have? Erase memory. and dominate them. Okay, there you go, easy. So I would just put these cards to the side of the character sheet just to help me remember what the powers were, you know, the stats or the skill check that I needed, what happened in terms of the power bonus, what the power bonus would do for each power. And then, like I say, I would also have the, where is it, Lily 2? I would also just have the, you know, the, can you see that? Is it on picture? Yeah. I just put the, you know, these cards here just as a quick reference. I should have made them a little bit smaller so they'd fit in card sleeves and maybe take up less space, maybe so that they would fit here. But yeah, just a little something that because like I say, just listing down the dark gifts here, I couldn't remember exactly what they were, what the skill checks were. After a while, you'll probably remember. You'll be playing them and using them for so many times, you'll remember, oh, it's this stat, it's this skill. But like I say, to begin with especially, I just created these, these cards to kind of, just to help me remember what they are. I also put down the group that they belong to at the bottom here, so again, they could be grouped together and done. So this is just something I quickly put together. Just to help me play the game. And also, I also made physical tiles for making the maps. Now I'm thinking that most people would just use these hexes on the PDFs or on the files and just create their own digital maps, you know, on the computer. Or you may be using a graphical software, but I kind of like physical components. I like board games where you have these where you create maps using these little tiles. So what I actually did was I actually printed out 2 sets of the PDF. Yeah, so I printed out the tile PDF twice. So it gave me a pretty decent quantity of hexes. I mounted them onto mat board or artboard. I used a black marker to make the edges black, just to give it a little bit more prettiness. And then I created my map, which is, this is the one I'm going to be using for the game. So, surprise, surprise. Well, actually no surprise. So I've created this map. I've used it's a pin board, the cork boards that you use pins to, you know, pin up little messages and stuff. So I found a small cork board, so it's like a frame, mounted. Put the hexes in here. These are all loose. You know, I can change them around and use the board for something, for another map next time. So I've made myself the little map. I've got a little token. I think this is from One Page Rules, just to designate where my home is, where my coffin is, and I'm using a miniature to represent my character, and this I'll be using this to move around the board. Now this is from Archvillain Games. It's from their October 22 Patreon. It's one of their vampire figures. It's not the best paint job, but I kind of rushed the paint job to kind of get it for this for these videos. So yeah, I'll be using this guy to kind of show my movement on the map and where I go. I also have a bunch of tokens. I've got a lot of different tokens to represent vampires, goons and thugs, and God knows what else. And what I'll be doing with these is I'll be using these basic kind of tokens. Again, I can't remember where I got these. But I'll basically be using these. I think these were for a Savage Worlds product. 12 to Midnight? Was it a 12 to Midnight game? I honestly can't remember. But I'll be using these, for example, if I go to this field hex here, and the event is some kind of enemy vampire who's out for my blood and I kind of run away, well, I can use this marker to basically help me to remember, there's a baddie there, there's a freaking nasty guy there, stay away. Yeah. I've also got tokens to represent pieces of equipment. Again, I'm not too sure whether in the game there's like events where you can find certain pieces of equipment or treasure, But again, I've got these tokens. Again, it's from the same... I honestly can't remember the set I got this from. It's from a long time ago. But I made these tokens ages and ages and ages ago. So again, these will be used if, for example, I want to put something down or want to highlight something on one of the map hexes. So yeah, that's the stuff that I have ready. I have played the game a few times, and I love it. I really do like it. I think it's a brilliant system. I have inquired with the designer, with Jefferson Pimentel, about translating the other ones to English because, like I say, it seems that there are 4 games in the series. Kind of like what White Wolf did with Werewolf, with Vampire, with all the other ones. Scion, was Scion one of them? But yeah, there's Vampire, Alone in the Darkness. You've got, I think it's a werewolf one called Lycanthrope or something. You have a magic, like a witch or wizard or warlock one. I think it's called, what's it called? Bruxas or something. And then there's I think it's called Heritage of Cthulhu. There's a I want these in English. I need these in my life. So I can't wait until next year. Jefferson has, I don't know whether it was a promise or he just said, next year, 2023. Looking forward to it, mate. I'm really looking forward to it. This is a great game. I think this overview has been a little bit long-winded. I do apologize for that. I do tend to do that. I'll try to edit it down as much as I can. But I am excited about this game. I really do enjoy this game. I've had it for a while. Jefferson basically recommended it to me a while back on Facebook. I'm a member of a solo RPG Facebook group that's kind of based in Brazil, and you have this wonderful group of people in Brazil that play RPGs and solo RPGs. So shout out to the guys in the solo RPG group. They have really opened my eyes to a lot of new treasures out there. But like I say, a lot of them are in Portuguese, obviously, because it's Brazil. But like I say, fingers crossed we can get some more of their games translated into English. I've already done videos on Ronin and NoteQuest, which are also from Brazil. But like I say, this one from 101 Games, really, really good. So I'm going to stop rambling. I'm going to stop talking. I've talked for way too long. I'm going to have to try and edit this down a bit. Join me in the next video, which will be tomorrow, Halloween, where we will have some gameplay for my vampire in this city or this large town. Join me for that video if you please. Take a moment to like and subscribe. Would really do me a big favor. I'm really trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. You guys have been great. I know that some of you have been spreading the word, and I really appreciate that. I love the comments that you guys are leaving. Some of you have come up with some very good suggestions. I don't know whether you've noticed. I can't remember who the guy was. Was it Chris? Basically talked about the angle of the camera was a little bit off-putting. Yeah, that was something I had to live with at the time. But I have found a little bit of money to invest in a new tripod, which has this horizontal extension, which gives me a much more top-down rather than an angled view. So hopefully this is better. But yes, guys, please leave comments in the comments section. Let me know what you think. Give me some recommendations. Like and subscribe. Ring the bell so that I can highlight you and let you know when there's new videos. But join me tomorrow, Halloween, and we'll have some gameplay. Vampire, Alone in the Darkness. Okay, guys, cheers. Thanks for watching. I will see you tomorrow. Till then.